Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military with Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about London because we have a lot of very interesting updates. According to information we have, the United Kingdom is developing a new ballistic missile Nightfall for Ukraine. According to The Sun, the United Kingdom government announced the launch of Project Nightfall to develop a ballistic missile for Ukraine. This information is contained in an official press release. According to the stated specifications, the missile will have a range of over 500 kilometers and be equipped with a 200 kilogram high explosive fragmentation warhead. So one important thing, if the UK authorities announce that they're going to develop this missile for Ukraine, most likely the missile has been already developed. And if we calculate the distance between, let's say, the northeastern part of the Chernigov region or the northern part of the Sumy region and the city of Moscow, then you might see that the distance between these 2 points is less than 500 kilometers, which means that the United Kingdom either have already developed or about to develop a missile that will be able to get the city of Moscow, which means that we are going to see another round of escalation between the Russian Federation and the European countries. Now let's return back to Ukraine. According to information we have, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians carried out another massive drone attack. The Russians didn't use hundreds of drones or dozens of missiles. According to pro-Ukrainian sources, just 156 drones were used by the Russians, and the Russians were attacking the city of Kiev and the Odessa region. The sources reported that the Russians destroyed or attacked several military objects and several objects of energy infrastructure. The situation in the energy sector is very difficult. According to information we have, yesterday Ukrainian sources reported that tomorrow, which means today, January 12th, power outage schedules and power restrictions will be applied in all regions of Ukraine. Another important thing is that Russians attacked the Odessa region with drones. So we have a very interesting article. Explosions and gunfire were held in Odessa overnight as an attack. Geran drones targeted critical infrastructure facilities. Local authorities reported damage to infrastructure sites. In the evening, Ukrainian official warned of possible emergency power outages in Odessa district, including the city itself. The reason is damage to the grid following attacks and the risk of overload which the energy system may not be able to withstand. And this is the video from the city of Odessa itself. This video was made during the night between the 11th and the 12th of January 2026. And here we can see how Russians were attacking the city with drones. Here we can't see anything probably, but we can hear the sounds of gunfire when most likely Ukrainians were trying to bring down Russia's drones that were flying in this direction. Another important thing, during the previous 12 hours, pro-Russian sources published 2 videos of how they were attacking vessels through the Odessa port infrastructure. So this is a very important video. This is the first episode. In this video we can see how the Russians attacked a vessel that was located on the territory of the Odessa port, and the second vessel, or maybe this is the same vessel, but the second strike took place in the Black Sea itself. So as you can see, the Russians began attacking the territory of the city of Odessa and Odessa infrastructure just with regular drones, which are very cheap. They don't need to use the Geran drones, they don't need to use missiles, which are more or less expensive in comparison with these regular drones. And this is a very important step from the Russian side, because now most likely the Russians will attack the Odessa infrastructure much more often, especially the Russians will try to attack vessels, as many as possible. At the same time, we received a very interesting video from the Caspian Sea. This video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians with FPV drones and with regular drones were attacking the critical infrastructure of the Russian Federation. So the Russians are using these constructions to get oil, and as you can see, the Ukrainians were attacking these constructions with drones. Currently, it's unknown whether the Ukrainians managed to deal a critical damage to these constructions, but obviously this is a very, very bad sign for for the Russians, because this is obviously not the last attack. Most likely Ukrainians will continue attacking this infrastructure with the purpose to reduce profits and to reduce income for Russia when selling oil. So this is the situation. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the Zaporozhye direction. The Russians are getting closer and closer to the siege of Zaporozhye itself, and during the previous 12 hours we received lots of very important updates. So this is the video that was published from the area of the settlement of Shiroka. The Russians once again used the same type of drone they used to attack vessels in the Black Sea, and here we can see how the Russians destroyed a radar around the settlement by the name of Shiroka. The distance between the edge positions of the armored force of the Russian Federation and the radar itself, let's say in the area of the river of Gaichul, is more than 50 kilometers, so which is a very huge distance. In the Zaporozhye, in the western Zaporozhye direction, the Russians during the previous 12 hours managed to improve their position significantly. So this is the situation by the end of the 11th of January, and this is the situation by the beginning of the 12th of January. According to pro-Russian sources, according to neutral mappers, the armored force of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Primorska. So we believe that in coming days, or maybe in coming hours, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm this information. And now the Russians, as we discussed during the previous video, are tasked and are focused to establish complete control over several settlements on the way towards the village of Kamyshevacha. We're talking about the settlements of Pavlovka, Novoyakovlevka, Zapasnaya, Novoboykovska, and Magdalinovka. So this territory is the primary target for the armored force of the Russian Federation. The Ukrainians are trying to stabilize the situation by sending additional reinforcements and reserves, but the problem is that there is a river of Konskaya, this is the river of Kinska, and there are just several places where Ukrainians are able to cross the river. In this video we can see how Ukrainians were trying to send additional vehicle with reinforcements and reserves, but the vehicle was destroyed on the way towards the line of combat contact. So as of now it's very difficult for Ukrainian side to cross the river of Konskaya and to bring additional reinforcements in this area, which means that the Russians most likely will be able to take under complete control the territory to the south of the river of Konska with less resistance from the Ukrainian side. At the same time, a very important piece of news is coming from the settlement of Kushum. Today, pro-Ukrainian sources reported that they began evacuation of the settlement, and it's not just the settlement somewhere in the Zaporozhye direction. This is already the Zaporozhye agglomeration. This is already a part of the Zaporozhye agglomeration. So this is the city of Zaporozhye, and if we go smoothly to the south, we won't see any gaps. We will first answer the settlement of Balabina, so there is no, let's say, barrier, no border, and no gaps between the city of Zaporozhye and the settlement of Balabina. And then we can see that the settlement of Balabina answers smoothly the settlement of Kushum. So basically the Ukrainians began evacuation from the city of Zaporozhye itself. The Russians are very close to the Zaporozhye agglomeration, and for example to the central part of the settlement that is being evacuated, just less than 10 kilometers. Telling the truth, I'm not sure whether the Russians are going to cross the river of Konska, because this is going to be a very difficult task for the armored force of the Russian Federation. Maybe they will cross the river, but not today, not tomorrow, and not within a month. Most likely first Russians will try to establish complete control over the city of Orekhov and over these territories, and only then maybe the Russians will try to do this. As for the eastern Zaporozhye direction, during the next 24 hours, we expect additional changes on the ground, but as for the previous 12 hours, we haven't received anything special. Just several pro-Russian sources confirmed that the settlement of Priluki was taken by the armored force of the Russian Federation under complete control. Maybe today the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm this information as well. As for the Dobropolye direction, during the previous 12 hours, small changes were recorded to the north of the settlement of Udachne. Pro-Ukrainian sources published the video of how they were attacking with FPV drones Russian soldiers in this area. So based on this video, based on episodes during this video, we have adjusted the map in this area. Most likely the Russians managed to establish complete control over the mine of Pokrovskaya. As for the Dobropolye direction, as for the area around the city of Pokrovsk, today for the first time since the beginning of the battle for the city of Pokrovsk, pro-Ukrainian sources confirmed that indeed the Russians managed to improve their position significantly. And according even to pro-Ukrainian sources, there are less and less gray zone in this area, and that the gray zone is turning over the territory under complete control of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. As for the Konstantinovka direction, during the previous night, we received a report that Russians managed to improve their position significantly in the central part of the city around the railway station. Pro-Ukrainian sources published a video where we might see lots of episodes of how they were attacking Russians in different parts of the Konstantinovka agglomeration, and one of the episodes took place exactly at this point. So based on this video, we have adjusted the map. So this is the situation by the end of the 11th of January, and this is the beginning of the 12th of January. The Russians, as you can see, have a very strong control over the southeastern part of the settlement, and the Russians continue expanding their zone of control. As for the Liman and direction, during the previous 12 hours, probably the most important update was published by pro-Ukrainian sources. According to them, the Russians indeed managed to improve their position significantly, and as you can see, pro-Ukrainian sources expanded a gray zone. They haven't colored these territories as the territories under control of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. They're just trying to tell us that the Russians launched an offensive operation in this area with the purpose, first of all, to encircle the contingent of the armed forces of Ukraine on the territory of the village of Stavki and to answer the northern part of the city of Liman. Furthermore, pro-Ukrainian sources confirmed that Russians managed to improve their position significantly in the northern part of the settlement of Drobyshevo. The gray zone was expanded in this area as well. As for the Kupiansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, we haven't received anything special. As for the northern directions, the most important updates are coming from the area of the settlement of Yunakivka. Today, pro-Ukrainian sources also expanded a gray zone in this area, and now the Ukrainian sources are trying to tell us that the Russians are tasked to establish complete control over the territory by the name of the village of Statki. So now the Russians are tasked to establish complete control over the territory between the border and huge Sumy forest. We're talking about this forest around the village of Satki, and the Russians, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, began moving right exactly in this direction. So most likely in coming days, the heaviest clashes are going to take place exactly in this area. And that's it for the short video. Military with Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.